Hey everyone, so if you watch my video talking about my buying and researching experience for both me and my father purchasing our F-150s, I want to talk about the 5 features that the average person should definitely consider having for an F-150 and 5 features that you may want to think twice about getting just because for the average person doing 10, 12,000 miles a year, they may really not be worth the money depending on what equipment group and trim level you may be going with. So we'll start off with 5 features that I think are definitely worth considering having that I think are really well worth the money and make a big difference. This is in no particular order. First one would be a locking differential. The locking differential only comes standard in the FX4 package. It's also standard on the Raptors, but as far as the regular F-150s, the locking diff is definitely something you should consider having. Especially if you're going with the 4x4 option that's already like $3,000 to $4,000. The locking differential is about a $500 option. You can even get it on a 2-wheel drive truck and it makes a tremendous difference. If you don't get the locking differential, you have an unlimited slip differential. So that 4-wheel drive truck is really 2-wheel drive and a 2-wheel drive truck is really 1-wheel drive. So the locking differential gives a huge advantage, especially if you're going to be going off-road or in places where there might not be pavement like dirt or gravel. That $500 locking diff gives you a tremendous traction advantage, and I definitely think it's worth having if you are not getting the FX4 package or you're getting a 2-wheel drive truck. The next would be a push-button start where it'll have the keyless entry. So that is incredibly convenient. You never have to take the keys out of your pocket. You can lock and unlock the truck from the outside without taking your key out of the pocket. Easiest way is if it has this little black thing on the painted handle. If you push this locks it when the key's in your pocket. You put your hand behind here, that unlocks it. You never take the key out of your pocket. It has the push button start. It'll also have the remote start from the key. And what's really nice about that is if the truck's outside and it's cold and you go to remote start it, all the systems inside the truck, like in this truck, will come on. The seat heater, the steering wheel heater, the automatic climate controls. The truck senses it's cold outside and it automatically turns all that stuff on. So a couple minutes later I go to get in the truck, it's all warmed up inside. Absolutely beautiful, a phenomenal feature. If you're gonna be living in, especially in a northern climate, get it. It's well worth the money. It makes the truck so much more comfortable and convenient to have, especially if you're not parking it in a climate controlled garage. The next is the LED box lights. This comes standard once you get to like the higher end some of the higher end XLTs and up from there. LED box lights, it's not expensive. It's like $125. It has the 2 box lights inside the bed. And if you're gonna put a tonneau cover on the back of the bed, it's so convenient to have, especially for $125, which is basically nothing considering how expensive these trucks can get. You're not having to take your phone out when it's dark, especially dark outside, to see what's in the back of the bed, what may have been rolling around in there. There's a button inside the bed that activates it and a button inside the cab that activates it. So having lights in there with the tonneau cover is a tremendous help, so you don't have to go digging around in there if something's rolling around and you can't find it in the bed of your truck. LED box lights, great thing to have. The next, this is technically 2 separate features, the rear sensing and the bliss or blind spot monitors. You should definitely get those. They come standard once you go to mid-level Lariat and up the blind spot monitors, and the rear sensors become standard, I think on some of the XLTs, but the rear sensors are available any level, and they're available as an option on the XLT. The safety aspect of it speaks for itself. I mean, everybody's been driving at one point where a car creeps up in their blind spot and you don't see it, and it really surprises you when it's there. Same thing with the reverse sensors. Even with the camera, sometimes things can kind of slip out of your vision, especially if you're distracted. The systems aren't that expensive. Reverse sensing is like $275. The blind spot monitors are like $590. And if one of those systems prevents you from having an accident, they basically just pay for themselves. I mean, most people's deductible is going to cover those features. So, I mean, if those prevent you from having an accident, it is tremendously worth it. I love having them on this truck. I use them. There's nothing having another safety aspect in there just to help you out, because sometimes accidents happen, and if that prevents an accident, the systems just pay for themselves. And last but not least, something that is very controversial that a lot of people think is a huge gimmick is the tailgate step. Originally, I was not going to get this truck with a tailgate step, so I started talking to people. I'm glad I did. I've had this truck for 2 months. I've already hauled a bunch of stuff in the bed, a couple pieces of furniture, a ladder, a couple other things, and I've been going up and down, and trying to get up on this truck without that tailgate step. I just put my foot on the bumper. This truck is pretty tall. It would be a pain. And that tailgate step, it's at $375. It's well worth it. Unlike the first generation one where the bar sits on the back side of the tailgate and it's kind of in the way. This tucks beautifully into the tailgate. You don't even know it's there. You just have a little cutout where you can see where it is. It's out of the way, and when you need it, and when you're getting in and out of the truck loading stuff up, it makes your life a whole lot easier rather than trying to really brace yourself by putting your foot on the bumper and climbing up. So definitely get the tailgate step. That's come up on the Raptor forum a lot of times about guys getting it. Some people, like I said, think it's kind of gimmicky, but get it. Because if you just don't get it and later on decide, oh man, I wish I got it, can I add it on? It's probably going to cost you a heck of a lot more than $375 because you might, I don't know if it has all the mounting points inside it without it. You might have to replace the whole tailgate, I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be more than $375 to add that later on. Just get it and you won't regret it. All right, 5 things that I think you should definitely really consider maybe not getting just because of the price and for the average person. Now there are some extenuating circumstances where I think people in certain situations should have these options, but the average person, using the truck, even for daily driving, commuting, 10,000, 12,000 miles a year, you may not want to get just because I think they're kind of expensive for what they are. First is voice activation, the voice activated touchscreen. Personally, that's an $800 option, and I have seen so many trucks on dealer lots that have that option on there. $800 is a lot to have basically just the voice activation added on there. If you're using the truck commercially, you're doing long distance hauling with it where you're using your navigation every day, then you should probably get it. But for the average person, I don't think it's worth it. Even without it, you can still get the nice 8-inch touchscreen with all the same great features. But for $800, I think you're honestly better off buying a nicer phone because I feel most people, unless they're using the navigation system constantly, will just use their phone. For the average person can use their phone because they're not going that many destinations where they don't know where they're going. So just honestly buy a nicer smartphone and just use that for $800. You can get a really nice new phone that you're actually going to use every day, as opposed to something like this you may use like a couple times a year. So you'll get a lot better value out of a new cell phone. The tray style floor liners. Now this comes standard with some packages like the FX4, but to get it as an independent option, it's $160. I personally would recommend going with an aftermarket company like Husky or WeatherTech. I personally think for a little bit more than $160, you can get a really nice set. I think they're a little bit better from those aftermarket companies, and they come with lifetime warranties. So that I would definitely get aftermarket. I do like a lot of the accessories Ford makes, but those I think that you can do better aftermarket. For the average driver, I think the 36-gallon gas tank is too expensive and a little bit of a waste. I like having a big gas tank so you don't have to do as many stops. But again, if you're doing 10,000, 12,000 miles a year, it's hard to justify it. That's an expensive option. It's $445. So after taxes, depending on what state, you're talking almost $500 for an extra 10 gallons. Standard tank is 36 gallons. Is 26 gallons. The larger tank is 36 gallons. So you're getting 10 gallons more for almost $500. If you're doing a lot of towing or a lot of long distance driving, it's probably worth it. If you get the FX4, the max tow package, it's included in that, so it's already in there. But for the average person, I think it's kind of a waste. That's a lot of money for an extra 10 gallons when it's already using the same mounting points and the same fuel pump and everything's the same, but just the mold is a little bit bigger. I think that's kind of a waste. I would definitely, on some of the more entry-level trucks, consider getting the actual center console instead of that 6th flip-up seat that you see in the middle. If you get that 6th, if you really need the room, like if it's a work truck, then go ahead and get it without the center console. But I would definitely recommend getting the center console. Usually the sport packages have it. You have a lot more space in the center console, a nice armrest. The flip-down 6th seat, that thing sits kind of high, so it's a little bit on the awkward side. I don't like that thing. But definitely I would consider paying, I think it's like a $650 option to get that nice center console. If you're looking at more of an entry-level truck like an XL or some XLTs for that option. Definitely go with that instead. And this is probably the thing people are going to agree with me the least about. The last thing is the panoramic sunroof. Now, if you're someone that likes sunroofs, you use them all the time, then you should definitely get it. But if you're getting it just because, whatever, the truck has it, I'll just get it, you may want to reconsider that because there's a lot of people complaining about that panoramic sunroof between the leaks developing over time. The little plastic clips that hold it in tend to get brittle and break over time. There's not enough lubrication on the tracks. It's a $1,500 option, so it is a little bit pricey. And if you are not someone that definitely uses sunroofs and you know that for a fact, you might not want to consider getting that. My father didn't get it on his truck. I just think there's a ton of complaints about it on the internet, and this is nothing new. This has been going on for a number of years now. Owners have known about this, about that, you know, especially if you don't get an extended warranty, at some point you're probably going to have to deal with some issue with that thing, and if you're not going to fix it yourself, it could potentially be expensive to fix. So if you know you're not going to use it, or you're just kind of, maybe I'll just get it to get it, I would not recommend it unless you absolutely have to have it because you're someone who uses sunroofs. So those are my 5 things that I think you should definitely get, and 5 things that you should definitely maybe second guess about getting. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.